Welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch. We're at the brand spanking new Speakeasy Studios right here in Staten Island, New York at Max Pub. We're coming to you live as we do every single day, noon to 2 Eastern. Mikey, shut off your talk back mic, please. I hear it coming back. All right. Lots to talk about here. We got a little segment here where I can get into some real down and dirty stuff. We have a local newspaper here in Staten Island. It's called the Staten Island Advance, okay? And it is one of the biggest pieces of turd you have ever seen in your life. I, for one, have been at odds with the editor and some of their writers, although they do have some good writers like Tom Robleski and my very good friend Rachel Now Morano, who used to write for the Advance. They used to kind of be a decent paper, and they used to cover like local sports and stuff like that. They now cover nothing. The paper is as thin as could be. The price has doubled in the last few years. And the editor of the paper is a guy by the name of Brian Laline. The guy is literally tone deaf. Now, how, JT, what's wrong with you? How could you say an editor of a newspaper is tone deaf? They are speaking to the people. First and foremost, I want to let everyone know that here in Staten Island, New York, the editor of our local paper lives in New Jersey. He lives over in Mantolokin, New Jersey, where all the rich people live. So, of course, he can't be connected to the mindset of small business owners in Staten Island. Now, when we had this congressional race here in the last presidential election, sitting Congressman Max Rose, who's Nancy Pelosi's lapdog, he went in the Staten Island Advance and said, I am not going to vote for impeachment. We don't need to divide this country anymore. And I was like, wow, I like this guy. Then he went down to Washington, and Nancy Pelosi started pulling on her little puppet strings, and he voted for impeachment. So they try to do the old 1-2 on us, like go in the community paper and say, I'm against impeachment. And most people won't go into the congressional record and see how I voted. But, I'm annoying like that. And you go into the congressional record and you find out that he actually voted for impeachment. So he lied. And while he lied in our local paper, many people were very, very frustrated. This is Trump country here in Staten Island, New York. And what happened was when it came time for that same paper to put out an endorsement in the race, they didn't hear the community who voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in the last two elections now. What they did is they came right out and endorsed the guy who lied to his community and voted for impeachment. How'd that work out, Brian Laline? Not too good, because he got his butt kicked in by Nicole Malliotakis, a state legislature. So now he's out, okay? And now last week, after we had a rally here in Staten Island, peaceful protest, 2,000 people, no looting, no rioting, no throwing Molotov cocktails at cops. And we kind of made a little bit of a point that people are fed up, that people have had enough. People were wearing masks. It was a great rally. But here he comes, the editor of the Staten Island Advance, Brian Laline, like step and fetch it, hobbling out of the bar, pens himself a piece talking about how horrible we are. So you got on the local level, the editor of our local newspaper who lives in another state, completely out of touch with all the people of Staten Island because he doesn't even live here, and he's blasting us. And then you got two guys in the national spotlight on Saturday Night Live when they can come down, they're multi-bajillionaires. They can come down and help small business owners and bring a positive light. Instead, they start mocking us. So the media in Staten Island, our editor, and two people who live here are not trying to help the situation. They're mocking the situation. So Brian Laline, maybe it's time for you to step down. I don't know if you remember back in the day, Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, and he was kind of on the ground looking around for his mouthpiece. He was all discombobulated. I think you're done. I think you're at the end of your rope. You've lost touch with your community. Why don't you retire to Mantolokin, New Jersey, and let someone talk to the community who actually understands the community? And that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to get any more personal than that. But this guy doesn't know what's going on. Now, I do want to get a little personal, and I hope someone sends this to Brian Laline. People out there, if you're watching, I would encourage you to tag the Staten Island Advance and let them know just how out of touch they are with the people in their community. So here we have just like a small batch, okay, of letters, cards, notes, Christmas cards, donations. This is like This is like not even one day's worth of mail coming to Mac's Pub, okay? My buddy Keith McElharney, the owner, he tried to live out his lifetime dream, take all his money and open a small business, an Irish pub, try to be a good place in the community. Many people in this community don't even know that for many, many years, the bar that was here was an absolute horrible place. Everybody knew about it, but it wasn't. It was more of a den of ill repute than it was a great community center. These guys took it over. They cleaned it up. They shined it up. They had a good local crowd coming in, good people, regular people, blue collar people, and they're the bad guys now. Okay, I used to go to that bar, and I could tell you, I never did drugs. When I was younger, I was kind of an athlete and stuff, but the old place that was here 30 years ago when I was a young man, it wasn't the place you wanted your kid to go. I promise you that. But they operated for many years. Now you got two good, old-fashioned, patriotic American guys trying to live out the American dream, and they're getting arrested every other day for trying to feed their family. So that's crazy. I do want to start reading you because when our local media and our local editor starts talking about how we've embarrassed ourselves, there's people every day from around the country who know nothing about Staten Island or New York or Mac's Pub, but they're coming out in support. And we have our local leaders smashing people. Danny, please accept this check to help you in your struggle to keep your business open. This is from Mr. Joseph Snee in Salisbury, Maryland. And there's a whole note here with all beautiful things, wishing him and his family, God bless all of them. We had a beautiful Christmas card here. If you see this, that came in for the guys. Inside, there's a note. Max, thank you for being the patriots during this scamdemic and sticking up for small business owners. I'd love to come visit and have a beer. Another beautiful card with all kinds. People are not just sending cards, too. They're sending money. They're sending coins. They're sending medallions, anything to show their support. Once you have taken on the role of leader, you have no choice but to continue. Giving courage to all small business owners is the mission you began. Continue to prove that New Yorkers are not to be messed with. Faith always. Mary Povich. No, not Maury Povich. Mary Povich. Let me go on because there's hundreds, literally thousands of them. Mac's Public House, Keith and Danny. As an observer of this travesty, I've made this up for New York. If you agree, please distribute, put on a website. Governor Cuomo, please. This is a declaration. We, the New Yorkers, are mad as hell at the Governor Cuomo for his COVID-19 restrictions for non-essential businesses. Doesn't distinguish economical and emotional destruction of any. And this is the time people are taking out. Look at that. A whole thing written in calligraphy. Okay, I go on. They're all over the place. C. Helmley from Blufftown, South Carolina, writes to Danny and Keith. Danny and Keith, go for it. Thank you. Jim from Michigan, I understand your fight. Take care. So I'm going to keep reading you more because these tone-deaf folks in the media, they think we're some kind of nut jobs. The outpouring from the rest of the country is all in support. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and have a few cocktails. We'll talk about more of the news. Kieran Michael Larler, New York State Assemblyman, is going to join me right after this.